Welcome back. It's time for our discussion tonight. CORD digging their heels in, saying they will continue with their protest schedule for tomorrow. The police has outlawed that. Jury is out on whether there was a deal or not. One side claiming there was, another side claiming they were simply invited to State House for a chat. Let's get into that. The hashtag to use is Checkpoint. SMS number is 22155. Please do send us your thoughts on what happens, what's the way forward with the IEBC, especially with the protests carrying on tomorrow, according to CORD. Senator Moses Kajwang joins me, as well as Onyangolo, who's the Secretary General of TNA Party. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Senator, I'd like to begin with you. Was there a deal or was there not a deal at State House last week?
Thank you, Yvonne, and good evening, viewers. The deliberations between the head of state and the leadership of CORD was conducted in an environment where there were not too many people involved. It's becoming quite difficult to establish what exactly was agreed on in that meeting, because both parties have come up with conflicting reports of what was agreed on.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest lesson there was that the CORD leadership was willing to bend over backwards and go to State House and discuss with the president, even if it was just for 10 minutes. One thing that both parties agree on is that there was a commitment that there would be further talks later on in the day or on a different occasion. How I wish that the president, as a head of state, as an embodiment of nationalism and a symbol of national unity, would have followed up on that promise so that there could be some beginning of discussions, which then would act as an indicator to the lieutenants and to the followers and supporters that there is something that is being worked on at the highest level. It has been very disappointing over the weekend for us to hear, particularly from the government, saying that there was absolutely nothing to be discussed and there was no basis for discussion and there is no hope for discussion. It is not a sign of weakness for the head of state to sit down with people from the other side of the political divide to sit down and discuss.
He had agreed to the talks, but something happened? He changed his mind, or his mind was changed for him? Is that what you're saying?
Yvonne, if you listen to the account by Senator Wetangula, by Deputy President Ruto, and CORD leader Raila Odinga, there is an indication that some proposals were put on the table. But one thing they all agreed on was that they would meet again to follow up on what they had talked about. Now, what we had coming from the president on Madaraka Day and subsequently on the National Prayer Day was that there were no discussions, and there will be no discussions because God has already solved that problem. I think that is a very dogmatic approach that will lead this country to chaos. The president, as a symbol of national unity and as a head of state, should look at all of us as his children, and when there is an issue that is burning, he should be ready and free and willing to engage all parties, even if its implementation is beyond his mandate, even if implementation will still have to go back to Parliament or Senate, but he should be willing to provide leadership to the nation when things are stuck.
Okay, Senator Onyango, was jury is out, or isn't it?
There was no deal. Let us remind our viewers and all who men and women of goodwill in this country that the occasion when the CORD leadership were invited to State House, it was a luncheon in honor of a visiting president. And as leaders in this country, the government deemed it fit that they be invited also to be part of that luncheon. In any case, that is a recognition by the government that we recognize the two or the three as leaders in their own right. It was not an occasion designed to discuss IEBC issues or any other issue of national importance.
That was never on the table?
It was never on the table. It was not capable of being in the table because the day was already engaged. What I would tell you from a point of knowing, and we are not talking there was not 3 or 4 people were the only involved, is that I am clear in my mind. There was no deal. There was a request by the CORD leadership that they want to discuss IEBC. And Yvonne, let me tell you, it is unfortunate the level of excitement that permeates the CORD leadership. The president, while escorting them out, said, "It's okay, we can talk, we are Kenyans." They jumped on their feet and went to address media and send word that there was a deal. You do not strike a deal by the president along the corridors. There has to be structured negotiations. There has to be a structured platform. What is the agenda for the day? Who are representing this side? Who is representing this side? Then you discuss, you set the platform, and you move forward. So let me tell you, it arose out of an excitement and anxiety on the part of the court leadership, trying to find a legal exit out of the quagmire they have found themselves in. But on our part as a government, we have maintained only one man swore by the Bible to protect the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. He has no intentions whatsoever to abdicate that role or to govern otherwise than in accordance with that document, the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya.
All right. You want to, yes.
Yvonne, the problem we are seeing in this country, the difference between Jubilee and the rest of the country is that Jubilee is dogmatic and the rest of the country is pragmatic. These particular incidents that Onyango Law is pouring cold water on, he should just try and study the national psyche after the photos of Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, the two protagonists, sitting together, dining together. There was a collective sigh of relief that finally our leadership have gotten it. They've understood what we've wanted all along. They've agreed to sit down and discuss. Coalition is a more pragmatic player in this particular matter. Jubilee is so dogmatic. They keep telling us about procedure. I want them to focus on process. The procedure for removal of IEBC from office is in the Constitution.
Yes, it
that
is.
is a procedure. But the process is bigger than the procedure. The process is everything that needs to be done before you get to the point where Parliament is considering these things. There is this fallacy, Yvonne, and we need to clear that today, that Parliament writes laws. I'm a member of Parliament. Laws are not written in Parliament. Laws are written in government, coming through the cabinet. Laws are written at political parties.
Right,
Laws, no, allow me just to clarify this so that I can demonstrate the dogmatism of Jubilee and why they are misleading this nation. They are telling us the Constitution is clear. That is a procedure. As we are talking about the process, and the process is broader, and what is in Article 251 is a procedure which will be part of that process. Jubilee should stop being dogmatic. This nation is much bigger than Onyango Law and President Uhuru Kenyatta and the commissioners. Kenyans want a situation, and they appreciate a situation where the two political divides are sitting down and talking. I want Onyango Law to go back and advise the president that that gesture on the eve of Madaraka Day was welcomed by Kenyans to the extent that when we went to Uhuru Park as a court coalition, we were very appreciative of some of the measures that are being taken.
Senator,
It is not about people in State House being arrogant and holding their pride that they cannot bend backwards. It is about Kenyans who want a conversation so that that conversation can lead into proposals which can be taken to Parliament, which then can be enacted into law.
all right, Senator, is it not instructive to note, and maybe you would like to come in, but that there was no statement that came out of State House saying that there were talks or agreement to have talks afterwards?
Because it was all a public relations exercise.
So was there
it
a
was
deal or was
intended,
there no
it
deal?
was,
Was it
Yvonne,
not
this
a
was
deal?
intended to deflate our rally on Madaraka Day. It was meant to confuse our followers. It was meant to invite the court principals to Afra Stadium so that we were not going to go on with our rally. And our rally had already been planned way in advance.
Happen, Senator, because I think both Afraha Stadium and Uhuru Park were parked.
I think Uhuru Park was fuller than Afra Stadium. If it's easy to count the number of individuals.
Well,
but
it's
the invite,
not that easy,
the
Senator,
invite to
though.
State House was public relations. It was a gimmick. It was meant to deflate us. It was meant to cool down the temperatures
Yet
in the
you
nation.
walked out optimistic, saying that talks were slated for some time.
Yeah, we thought
So
we
was
had
it a PR exercise or,
we thought we had a president that keeps his word.
Okay, all right.
Yvonne,
Onyango?
it baffles me when a respected senator, as my friend, I do hold him in very high regards, would want to come here and throw semantics to the public that there's a difference between a process and a procedure. Let me make this clear to our viewers who care to listen and understand. The word procedure comes from the word process. So to make a distinction that in Parliament you deal with procedures and outside you deal with processes, that cannot wash. Our position is this. The court leadership, made up of the Right Honorable Prime Minister, and Kalonzo Musyoka and Wetangula were at the forefront of delivering to Kenyans a new constitution in 2010. Let us make it clear that the Kenyan constitution is one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, not just in Africa. And the leadership of CORD, as presently constituted, did play such a huge role to present us with that document. And we are saying they have not provided any credible reasons whatsoever that would make us depart from that constitution. In any event, even if they provided credible reasons to depart out of that constitution, it still behoves them to go to parliament and delete those sections. Look at it this way, Yvonne. If today the government were to say, let us go their way and discuss constitutional issues outside parliament, two things. One, you will still end up in parliament. So why not just start it there? Secondly, if the government were to decide that we are going to do this thing in an unconstitutional manner, which CORD has always wanted, at what point will they stop the government when it wants to conduct other unconstitutional procedures?
Okay.
We are looking at it this way. It cannot be that when CORD loses an election, IEBC has to go down, IIEC had to go down, Kivuitu ECK has to go down. Shall this country remain stand still until CORD is installed into the leadership of this country?
Onyango, to be fair, IIEC was an interim.
Oh, it was interim. Yeah. ECK was brought down. Why? Because the CORD leadership, that time led by Raila Odinga, also the ODM leadership, had lost elections. And the basis was that they had bungled. So we created IIEC as an interim body during which institutions would be put in place properly and the constitution...
So is it then you're saying that, you know, from the transition from the ECK into the IIEC, that was a well-known procedure
Thank
or
you.
process?
Then IEBC was created as a regular commission.
Right.
IEBC was created actually with the participation of the CORD leadership and not the Jubilee leadership. Then they go and lose an election. Again, they turn now, these ones must go. The question we ask Kenyans, shall we wait and hold upon building our institutions until Raila becomes president of this country?
Senator?
Yvonne, I want to avoid the cliches that we throw around in political rallies because I respect Onyango Law quite a bit, and he's also a senior political leader. But I want to remind Kenyans of the things that we feel need to change. One, we've got an issue with the commissioners of the IEBC.
All of them?
We are not, yes, because the commissioners, it's an institution. There's that collectivity that the commissioners have. There could be individual commissioners who have played a good role, but the results do not show. And I can give you examples, and which is supported by the grounds in the Constitution for removal of commissioners. There are issues of integrity, not just Chicken Gate, but from the Auditor General's special audit of IEBC after the last general election. There are issues of competence. When the IEBC is given targets to register citizens, it falls short of that target. Imagine if that was in business, that the head of a corporation has been given a target to generate 10 million shillings and he generates 2 million shillings. He would be fired by the board.
Yeah,
so that touches on competence.
To fire the CEO of that
yes. Let me get to it, because I'm just illustrating some of the grounds upon which the commissioners have contravened the sections in the Constitution that would provide grounds for their removal. So we would like the commissioners to vacate office willingly. I would wish that they search their conscience. And when we go to IEBC, allow me just to finish this. When we go to the streets, we put pressure, we want them to see the outrage of the public so that they could also search their conscience and agree to live willingly. That is an option that people do not realize exists, that they can resign. The second way of getting them out is through a petition in Parliament. This was tried in 2014.
Right.
But even once we have gotten the commissioners out of office, the question would be, who nominates, who sets up the nomination panel? That is a subject for discussion.
All
Do
right.
we nominate 3 or 9 commissioners? That is a subject for discussion. There is an elections amendment bill before the National Assembly today. It has got many, many provisions. It is 43 pages long. It came from the cabinet before it came into the National Assembly. It has so many provisions that Kenyans should sit down and discuss. We could discuss how do we actualize the 1/3 gender principle in the forthcoming election.
Okay, so
all these are issues that
and it sounded
require
a
us
little- yeah.
to sit down and discuss so that once we have an agreement, it can go to Parliament and it will be easy for it to pass in Parliament.
All right. Onyango, you wanted to intervene.
Senator is making it appear as if the Jubilee coalition is fighting to retain IEBC commissioners.
Are you?
That has never
All the
and
indications
is
are there.
not the position of the Jubilee coalition. The position of the Jubilee coalition is clear. If you do not like a judge of the High Court or of the Supreme Court, and you have evidence to show that this man is not capable of holding this position, please follow the procedure. If you do not have confidence in IEBC, and you can table these supposed facts that my brother here has tabled, the chicken gate, what and what, we are saying we are not custodians of these facts. Bring them through a process that has been established. And this process was established before even this commission was put into place. So that if we were to start the way he's saying that the moment allegations are made against you, we throw you out of the office. What will become of you, Senator, if we say we don't like Senator Kajwang? He has not been performing well. Let us throw him out. We don't have to go to Parliament. We don't have to follow any procedures. So our problem with the CORD brigade is not that we are protecting IEBC. It's not that we want IEBC in like yesterday. We are saying if you have facts, table them and let us follow procedures.
Okay.
After all, why do we build institutions? Why have we invested in terms of human capacity building, in terms of resources, in terms of ensuring that these institutions fall in place in terms of the Constitution, if at the end of the day they are meaningless to us?
All right, let me ask you this. Is TNA confident with the IEBC to conduct a free and fair election in 2017?
Let me put it to you this way. Not TNA. I'm talking of the Jubilee coalition.
Okay.
As a Jubilee coalition, we have not had facts and evidence strong enough to show that these people are not capable of performing their duties as by law established. But we are saying, should it be tabled there? Kenya is greater than CORD. Kenya is greater than Jubilee. We will be willing
So
to
Jubilee
listen.
is happy with the coalition, with the commission as
We
as
have
it
not
exists
had
now?
any evidence to demand their removal.
All
That
right.
does not mean we are happy. It simply means that I may not like your face. I may not like the way you conduct your business. But there is a procedure. You have just reminded my colleague here on the procedure of removing CEOs when they fail to meet their targets. We may not like them. We may like them. And if you don't like them, please bring the evidence. If it meets the threshold for removal, we definitely will support you.
All right.
Because Kenya is greater than these coalitions you're talking about.
Yvonne, if you just landed into Kenya from space, you'd believe Onyango law. But you've been in Kenya for the last couple of months. You'd remember that when it came to the EACC, which is a constitutional commission, according to Article 79 of the Constitution, they threatened the commissioners. They promised them positions as ambassadors. They literally kicked them out of office. When it came to the Inspector General, Kimayo, they did not go back to that constitution. When it came to the fight on illegal alcohol, second generation alcohol in Central Province, they were demonstrating, not peaceably and unharmed. They were demonstrating with pangas and destroying private property when we had the same constitution. And that was a raid that was sanctioned by the president when he met leaders in State House. They talk about the constitution when it suits them, and when it does not suit them, they do not want to talk about the constitution. We demonstrate and picket in accordance with Article 37 of the Constitution. When we demonstrate and picket, they threaten us, they send police to kill our supporters. That, at that point in time, they don't care about the constitution. But when it comes to protecting an IBC with whom they've struck a deal to rig them in 2017, 2017, they tell us to follow the Constitution. The nation is much bigger than Jubilee's dogmatic interpretation of the Constitution. This is a time when leaders need to be pragmatic, because the nation is much bigger.
This is a senator paid by the taxpayers saying that the Jubilee coalition did breach the Constitution, did throw out the Deputy Commissioner General, did undertake some unconstitutional ways, and he cannot give a single iota of evidence of having raised this thing in Parliament, the grand house of dialogue, where he even enjoys immunity.
Just a moment,
where he enjoys immunity. Now, issues that affect the country of that magnitude, we are not hearing that the Accord coalition did even seek to demonstrate or to picket. They were silent. Now he has the audacity to come here and address the public and tell them how committed they are to constitutionalism. Let me address a small issue that my brother here has said with tremendous respect, that they are picketing, that they are demonstrating pursuant to the provisions of the Constitution of this country. How beautiful it sounds. But I want to tell you from where I sit that the Constitution did provide for the right to picket and the right to demonstrate. But the Constitution did not envisage, neither did it contemplate a situation where a group of citizens would seek to picket or to demonstrate in furtherance of an illegality. That is a creation of CORD.
So let's talk about this illegality, because the police has outlawed, the protests for tomorrow. CORD is adamant that you will continue with your protests?
Yeah, the statements coming from the police are very embarrassing, to say the least, especially when we have the Constitution that Onyango Law is talking about, that guarantees us the right to demonstrate and to picket. The same Constitution that guarantees every Kenyan a right to life. I've just mentioned that 2 weeks ago they killed people in Siaya, in Kisumu, and injured several others in Homa Bay. So they are denying us that right to life. The Constitution grants us the right to security. What the police should be doing is, once we have notified them that we are going to demonstrate and picket, they should liaise with us so that we ensure that we've got appropriate arrangements to secure our activities. The police is supposed to provide us with security and also to secure other private individuals going about with their business. What we hear, and we have had this for the last 3 weeks, and it's unfortunate that my brother Onyango Law was the architect of some of these kind of statements. They said that when we go to the streets, they will also come out with boys to protect businesses. Today, as we speak, there is a member of parliament from his party who is saying he's going to deploy boys in the streets of Nairobi tomorrow to protect businessmen. Since when did Kenya become a failed state for someone to come from the villages to enforce, to protect private businesses? That is how militias are born. That is how a nation goes down. The police must play its role, and it needs to understand its duty in the new constitution, rather than reverting to the Public Order Act.
The court protest tomorrow.
In fact, the statements of the police are illegal.
Is avoiding what I'm advancing. The illegality does not arise from the police declaring the demonstration or picketing illegal. Let me put it this way for our viewers. The Constitution did contemplate a situation that did grant the right to picket and to demonstrate. But would it be said to be within the contemplation of the Constitution if a group of Kenyans said, we are going to picket and to demonstrate to be allowed to rob Kenyans and to steal their property?
Is that what they've said?
That is an illegality. What they are seeking to do is allow us to demonstrate so that we make amendment to the Constitution outside that Constitution. You get what I'm saying? Secondly, when it comes to the killings and to the deaths that are very unfortunate, let me put it this way. This has been the confirmation and the realization of CORD's dream. A few months ago, and in front of the media and the entire nation, the Nairobi branch of ODM, Mr. Aladwa, did make it clear that they are committed to ensure that Raila Odinga becomes president, and that before Raila becomes president, our Kenyans must die. We thought that could have been a mistake. Soon thereafter, Junet, who is a member of parliament and also a leader in ODM, did make it clear that those who die will be collateral damage. In a sense, the deaths You see, they went and prayed and they told the people to come. These deaths are part of their scheme in the hope that they can win.
To be fair, though, allow me to interject because we just have a few minutes. Okay.
It is a part, an escalation of what was started by Mr. Ladwa, Mr. Junet, and a commitment of CORD that violence must precede the elections, and these deaths are just what they predicted and prophesied. It is happening according to script.
On that level, to be fair, both sides have made some rather insightful statements, including a member of TNA as well as members of CORD. This is not something that anybody
No. You won't let us get it clear. Hold on.
Okay.
You won't let us get clear.
All right.
I am not just talking of members. I'm talking of people holding positions in the party structure, because
nonetheless, these are people who are making
statements. Does not just talk.
All right.
Yvonne, the question is, were these people killed by ODM officials? No, they were killed by the police.
Give a party position, the NEC must meet. I must be told, this is what we have resolved.
Okay.
This is a leader of CORD in Nairobi. This is a national leader of CORD, of ODM.
I understand your point,
so don't just tell an MCA
but
or a member of parliament.
Does this then mean that their insightful statements are any less insightful than those that are made by members of TNA simply because the members of TNA don't hold party positions?
Because when I talk...
Is it any less?
Of course it is. Because when I talk on behalf of the party, and it is bound to be understood to be the collective and corporate position.
Okay,
but when an individual speaks, we can say that is a misguided person. So there is a difference when a member just talks with when a leader...
Okay.
I am so saddened. I am so saddened. I went to bury people in Kisumu where Onyangolo comes from.
Yeah.
He's not remorseful about it. He speaks as if it is a Ladwa who killed these people. These people were killed by the police that is controlled by the government that Onyango Olo is a political wingman for.
Understood, gentlemen. I'd like us to conclude very quickly. We spoke with Dr. Ekuru Aukot earlier, who's talking about mediation efforts. He's not the only one to do that. But he made a very categorical statement that he has met leaders from both sides. Can you confirm or deny that here?
I can neither confirm or deny that Ekuru Aukot has met us. Maybe he's met our principals.
Right.
But we would also be questioning what capacity. Is he doing it as a private citizen? Is he doing it as a coalition? We welcome all Kenyans who want to be part of dialogue. Because as you said, we are pragmatists. We want to dialogue. The only people who are messing this country, who want to annihilate Kenyans, is this Jubilee government. They are too proud. They are too arrogant. They are too dogmatic. They are too fastidious. They need to differentiate between procedure and process. And I'll say it again. Process is bigger than procedure.
Process is bigger than procedure. I think Kenyans are learning something new. You're in, party leadership.
I'm clear.
Yeah.
They have not. He has not met our the leadership.
Would you be willing to meet him?
Not the president. He has not met the deputy president. Okay. He has not met the Jubilee leadership. And let me make it clear. That is a very preposterous position. Mr. Aukot was part of the group that ushered in this new constitution. And they were clear on the procedures to be followed to remove judges and to remove members of the independent commissions. And they made it in no uncertain terms. He cannot now turn up and say that he wants to be a mediator. A mediator over what? The law is clear. We are saying, let us follow this law that you gave us.
Okay, so let's understand the positions now as we head to tomorrow. No talks at all?
Why talk? And the Constitution is clear.
Okay.
Let us follow the Constitution. Let us throw these people out if they must be thrown out through the constitutionally laid down procedures. What would you make of it if tomorrow the president abdicated that constitution and started doing things outside the constitution?
But is there anything wrong with the president just sitting down with the CORD leadership and talking?
He sat with them over lunch.
Okay.
And they
which he dismissed.
And they were served well and very well welcome.
Okay. Let me give you my thinking of the way forward.
Yes.
As CORD, we are not only focused on the commissioners. We are focused on significant or minimum reforms to the electoral system in this country. And we believe that that can be achieved if leaders from across the political divide sat down and agreed, and then we pushed it to Parliament so that we can follow the procedure that is spelled out in the Constitution. And, as they say, there is nothing wrong in discussing. There is nothing wrong in dialogue. When people have asked the head of state to lead dialogue, I think it behooves him, as the leader of this nation as a symbol of national unity to bring us together. And it is not only court that is complaining, the churches, the trade unions, the professional bodies, almost everyone in this country is complaining. It is only Jubilee that has stuck its head in the sand and feel that because they're in power, they will never be in opposition. Onyango, all these things we are doing is to prepare you for opposition in 2017. You will be sitting where I'm sitting, and you will be crying for us to dialogue. So please remember that there is nothing that is permanent.
Okay, all right. Agreed,
Basically, what I would say...
Honestly, I have 30 seconds. I'm sorry.
Basically, what we would say is we have no problem dialoguing. But Yvonne, I want you to imagine for a second that tomorrow someone calls us to dialogue so that we disband Parliament or the judiciary. Is it dialogue worth paying attention to? Dialogue, yes, but according to the Constitution and the legal process.
All right. Okay. Senator Moses Kajwang, thank you very much. Onyango Olo, who's the Secretary General of the National Alliance Party. We wait to see what happens tomorrow. Some say it could be the mother of all process. Perhaps the worst we have seen. We're hoping that that will not be the case. Court is digging in their heels, and so are the police and the government. What is the way forward? We will wait to see as the days unfold. I'll be getting to your feedback right here on Checkpoint in just a moment. Stay with us.